I want to come right off the bat and say that I have no expectations for what I'm doing right now. Because I have no expectations for what I'm doing right now, I mean, for those who are watching right now on YouTube, you can see there's nothing going on with the background. It's not set up for an interview. It's not set up with what looks like a whole production value or a whole bunch of investment. I want it to be really simple. I want it to be me talking about what I'm seeing in the world, what I'm feeling in the world, what I'm trying to learn from this world as a black man. And because of that, I don't want that to get lost in the extracurriculars of making a video. I don't want flashing icons and sound effects and all that. I don't think we need that. I like the idea of what YouTube once was, where a person had a camera, sat down and they talked to you, and there was an actual conversation, even if it was through a camera. It's not a two-way conversation, but it is an honest conversation, if that makes sense. And I want to be clear that because there's no structure, I've written nothing down. So this is all free flowing through my head, and my mind is already a jumbled and a chaotic mess. So some of it may seem backwards or may contradict what I just said, but it's only because it's coming from my head as it's happening. So there's no structure to it, you know? In your mind, especially right now, is just such a chaotic battlefield of back and forth thoughts of what it is you're supposed to feel. The one thing that I know for sure is, though, I'm angry. And I think I'm angry just like so many other black men in America right now. Or I don't even want to just narrow it down to black. There are so many people that are angry in the world right now. And nobody can say that we are not justified in our anger. For the longest time now, I say longest time, 2 weeks, let's say 2 weeks, I've felt depressed, which is unlike me. I've in my entire life, I don't think I've ever actually been depressed. I've never felt that bottomless sense of loss, of no hope, of not being able to climb out of something. I've always believed in two things. Don't stress what you can't control, which is as simple as what it sounds like. You can't worry about the things that you can't affect. They've happened or they're going to happen. Two was that it's going to get better. You can't stay in a dark place forever. You can fight through things and you will overcome them eventually. It may be a long process, but you will overcome them. So it was a shock to me when I started having this feeling of sunkenness that just wouldn't go away. I didn't feel like myself anymore. And the difficult thing, I think, from my own personal opinion, of dealing with that is realizing that if you don't identify why this is occurring, if you don't actually get to the root cause of why you're feeling the way you're feeling, it's going to be difficult for you to ever overcome it. So, what I've believed in, those two things I just told you, one of them's already out the window. How can I overcome something? How can I eventually get over it if I don't start with identifying what the hell the problem is? So I thought it was where I'm at in life. You know, I didn't initially attribute it to what happened to George Floyd. But I want to say once again, rest in peace to that man who was murdered, taken from this world before his natural time, which is just something that should piss anybody off. Believe in fate, believe in destiny, believe in what you want. He was not supposed to go right then. Was not his destiny, was not his fate. And yet, somebody else, another person decided that that was going to be his destiny. But I didn't naturally attribute the sunkenness that I felt to that event because we've seen time and time again what happens when power hungry, racist, bigoted people in a blue uniform, and that's not to say everybody is, but there are individuals, as we just saw, who are. interact with a person of color. So I thought, this is business as usual. This is the same shit we always see. So that can't be what's causing my depression because I've seen this before. So I turn to other things. Where am I in my life right now? What is it that I feel that I should be doing that maybe I'm not doing that would cause this? I started re-examining what I could do right now. And even as I made course corrections, looked into schools that I want to go to, looked at places that I wanted to live, what I was doing to achieve my next steps, it brought me no satisfaction. It brought no difference to what I was feeling. So I realized it couldn't have been that. Maybe I'm not applying myself to my hobbies enough. Maybe because of the COVID thing that we're dealing with being cooped up inside for so long, I need to re-engage with the things that I love the most. So I went back to playing video games, went back to watching YouTube videos, went back to listening to my favorite podcast, reading books, and no change occurred. Nothing would get me out of this damn funk. It wouldn't shake the feeling of not being your own person. It's like being sick, but it not being physical. It's like knowing you are off center. You know what it's like when you're having a great day, where everything seems to be going your way, right? Now imagine being pushed to the left of that. And again, my thoughts are chaotic, so it's hard. But just imagine for a second, if you're feeling normal right now, and there may be people out there who are feeling normal and not some type of way about the world's events, which I don't even know what to say to you. I don't want to say I applaud you, because if you don't feel some type of way about what's going on in our world right now, then you need to take a serious look at what you value in life. But just imagine what it felt like when you did feel normal, when everything felt like it was going your way, and then push your soul, your spirit, whatever it is you believe in, to the left of that. You feel off center. You don't feel balanced. And that's what I felt like. And so I had to start going on morning trips, waking up at 5 a.m. In fact, it wasn't even a conscious choice to wake up at 5 a.m. I would just naturally wake up at 5 a.m. My eyes would open and I couldn't go to sleep. So I'd get up and I'd go in my car and I'd go to the park. I'd go somewhere where there was water, there was grass, there was scenery. It was just outdoors, and I would put on an album. I put on Nipsey Hussle's Victory Lap. I put on Kendrick Lamar's Damn. I put on something, and I'd sit back and I'd listen to it, and I'd listen to the words. And it was during one of these mornings that I realized I'm not admitting to myself that what happened to George Floyd is having more of an effect on me than what I've seen before. And it's not because it's more gruesome than any other videos we've seen before. It's not because anybody else's death was less of an impact. It all hurts. It always tears you apart when you see somebody of your community, of your culture, of your background, and we're all humans, so that applies to everybody. But to see somebody taken not by destiny, but because somebody else intervened and made that their destiny, it always hurts. But you get numb to it. Just like anybody who's grown up in the inner city or the ghetto is used to seeing violence, you get numb to it. So why was this affecting me? I think it was the accumulation of these events, and then ending on this note of just blatant murder occurring right in front of you, right in front of our eyes. We're seeing a man murdered. And it's not by a gang. It's not by somebody that should be doing murdering. It's by somebody who was supposed to be protecting his community, protecting and serving his community. The people you were supposed to call on when you feel in danger, when you think you need help. As a kid, you learn, most kids learn, 911 is who you call whenever there is trouble. As adults, as people of color that are adults, we lose that ability. we lose that safety net because of what we just saw in that video. We no longer think of 911. We handle it ourselves. We handle it within our own community. We handle it by whatever you believe in, street justice, your own code of ethics and morals. You handle it yourselves because you can't trust, or it feels like you can't trust 911. And so going back to what I was saying about sitting in that car, listening to whichever album I was listening to at that moment, I realized that if I didn't find an outlet to voice my feelings on this world and what I was seeing and why there's such a disconnect between the people who see the world for what it is. You can see the injustice, and that's black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. You can see across the world right now, people are standing up against systemic racism, injustice, police brutality, being a fucking idiot. People across the world are standing up against it. And then the people on the other side who are looking for excuses, looking for reasons as to why it occurred, justifying why it happened. And that goes all the way up to the man that is supposed to be our leader, our commander in chief, who turns off the damn White House, basically turns his back on the people. His people turns his back on him. Why is there a disconnect between us? That's what I feel like I have to learn. I feel like right now, what we're seeing, what occurred in front of us, is also a cry to young black men and older black men and all people to analyze our society. What is it that we value? What is it that we truly believe in? Why is it that we truly believe in and value these particular things? And in my mind, I can't keep going forward in my life, accomplishing these things that at once, like I said, held so much value and importance to me, that no longer hold that same value of level of importance. I can't keep moving forward in this path if I don't do my due diligence and learn. And we use the term so much, it felt like for a while there, of waking the fuck up or being woke. You can call it corny now or whatever you want to call it, but it's something that needs to occur, I feel like, in so many of us, where we need to see the world for what it is and stop going through it as if it's all rose colored, as if we all live in a damn Disney movie and everything's equal and there's equity and we've all got the same path, when clearly we don't. That's why I'm doing this right now. And hell, like I said, I have no expectations. I don't, honestly, if nobody sees this, I'd be perfectly okay, because I don't think that's what this is. I think this is, and I may have mentioned it, selfish. I think this is for me. I feel the need to vent, and I don't feel the need to just vent and keep it on my computer to myself. I want to put it out there. If somebody wants to see it and vent with me, then all the better. If somebody sees it and doesn't want to vent and doesn't care what I have to say, all the better too. But I want to do my part and educate myself, and I'd like to put out what I'm learning out there. I want to start, or I think it's important to start with, why people are so upset. I see on my Facebook, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, I've lost so many people that I considered friends. I don't want to call them friends because people's true values are coming out right now. The snakes that were in your garden that you couldn't tell or discern, they're showing their faces clear as day right now. And to me, that takes many forms, but it could be just as simple as not saying anything right now. If you've got nothing to say, if everything you post on your Twitter, your Facebook, your Instagram, whatever you have, is about your life and how great it is or what it is you're accomplishing, if there's not one post about the injustice that occurred with George Floyd, then I don't need you in my life, because clearly you don't care about my life, so why should I care about yours? The reason I believe that a portion of people are acting out in so much violence and anger with the rioting and the looting and the destruction. The same things that people are saying, right? What I want to start with is why I feel so many people are acting out in anger, in just unbridled fury, and destroying and looting and hurting their own communities. I want to give my own 2 cents on why I think this is occurring. And my 2 cents doesn't mean shit. I'm nobody. I lesser than nobody when it comes to these matters. But I do feel it is important for us all to voice our own opinions, because I think about my own Facebook. Whenever I share something about the protest, immediately after, I have a comment bringing up the violence of the protest. It's the same words that we've always heard. Well, we're not going to listen to your meaning, or your meaning is lost because you're destroying stores. Doesn't matter anymore. So easy to write off a cause because of a small portion of people that are acting violently. And that's a part of my overall argument. But I want to start, like I said, with why I feel like people are acting out in anger, because I feel the same anger, and I'd be wrong. It'd be an absolute lie to say that at some point I didn't feel like going out and joining them and tearing down my own damn community. And I think it stems in my beliefs because people are tired. And it's so weird because it seems so obvious, right? So many people are probably thinking, well, duh. Like, why else would they act out? And then on the flip side of that, so many people don't seem to see that. So many people are like, well, why are you writing? Why are you losing sight of your cause by destroying businesses that had nothing to do with it? Well, that's because people have tried the peaceful method. People have tried the kneeling. That is the standard one everybody goes back to, is Kaepernick kneeling. And the response to that was him being blackballed in the NFL, which we already saw Goodell come out and say he apologized. The NFL was wrong on how they handled that. But the peaceful protests have occurred, and they are still occurring, but they keep getting ignored. How many times can you kick somebody before they fight back? You can only expect so much peace when you are consistently attacking, antagonizing, and poking at a damn bear before the bear turns around and slaps your fucking face off. And that's what I feel people are acting like. And I don't think it's everybody, because there are peaceful protests, but for some reason the only protests that are shown are the violent ones, the riots, the people throwing or spray painting Black Lives Matter on businesses and storefronts, or people breaking into glass storefronts and stealing the merchandise in there. I think that is a small portion of people. I believe that not everybody is just in their intentions, and I definitely believe that the media is not just in showing this small portion of people when there are peaceful people who are going out there and want their voices to be heard. Once again, even after what fucking time is this? How many times have we seen videos of people getting killed in the streets with a knee to their neck? With people who you would think, out of all the places in the world you would be safe, is in your own home. No, they can come in there and shoot you there too, and still get away with it. And yet there are still so many more people who are protesting peacefully after all of that. But the anger stems from the peaceful protest not working. There's no discernible progress. Or if there is discernible progress, whoever is making the progress, we've got to do better in showing what that progress is. Because all we see is what the news wants us to see. And what we're seeing is not good. The interactions between cops and black people, whenever it's on the media, whenever it's on the news, it's bad. It's not a positive interaction. Somebody's dying, and 9 times out of 10, it's a white man in a uniform and a black guy dead, or a black woman dead. And that's where the anger stems from. At least that's where my fucking anger stems from. We're doing our best. So many of us are doing our best. I am doing my best to live a good life, a lawful life. You follow the laws, you go to school, you get a good job, start a family if that's your thing, whatever, but you do it lawfully. And it's unfair that if I were to do all these things, I could still end up dead in the hands of our public defenders, the people who are supposed to protect us, because of my skin color. Because where that person grew up, whoever taught them or raised them, taught them to hate skin color that wasn't theirs. That's unfair. And when something is unfair for so long, you push back. You want to fight back, especially when you've told people it is unfair to their face, as calm and as polite as you possibly can after they take from you something important. How can you expect people to be calm and not riot and loot and scream at the top of their lungs and burn it all down if nobody's listening when they are calm? Taking it to another level, or a lesser level, I know my own anger stems from another aspect of what I just mentioned. And that aspect is when you decide to shed light on what is occurring in the world, when you decide to show people what it is the other side is facing, the other side being black people, people of color, what they are facing, and their response to that is, well, the classic one, all lives matter. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? At no point does anybody who says Black Lives Matter mean, attempt to, or infer that anybody's else lives don't matter. It has nothing to do with anybody else's life. It is, if anything, it is an addendum. It is an addition to. We are saying Asian lives matter, white lives matter, Native American lives matter, Black lives matter too. So when somebody comes back and says all lives matter, the issue is nobody is addressing that Black lives matter don't seem to actually fucking matter. How can all lives matter if black people's lives don't matter? That makes no sense. And that is just another aspect of my anger in all of this. So you've got people who are choosing, once again, not to see the actual issue. You've got people ignoring. You've got people either trying to ignore what they know to be true, because they know it to be true, but they're willing to ignore it. Or, and this may even be worse than the people who choose to ignore it, you have people who are neutral in it. There are so many quotes that somebody could put up right now about the dangers of remaining silent when injustice is occurring. Your silence is just as bad as somebody saying, fuck black people. Because you're complicit. You're basically saying, it's not my business. It's not my problem. When it is your problem. If we are one culture, if we are one people, not one culture. Now, let's not do one culture, because I think there is importance in diversity in cultures. But if we are one people, if we are one human fucking race, how can you say it's not your problem? Because at the end of the day, your brothers and sisters are dying. I totally understand the anger and the frustration. Totally get it. And even worse, when that anger and that frustration and the injustices are showcased to a young populace, people who are, we all remember what it's like to be in that time of our lives where you're a teenager and you've got ideals and you've got passion behind those ideals, and you will stand up. You will stand up for what you believe in. And it may not have been some big, broad, or specialized issue like race. It could have been something as simple as you believed you should go to a party. Your parents didn't, but you believed it. So you found a way. You put your passion behind it and you found a way. You stood up for it. The kids that are coming up now are so much more observant. Or you can go back to the corny world, the word that everybody used, the buzzword woke. They are so much more open to what is going on in this world because they're paying attention to what came before them. And they believe, from what I've seen from Twitter videos, Snapchat videos, Instagram videos, from what I'm seeing who is out there, it's the young people. It's the people my age, it's the people younger than me. They're the ones that are out there marching because they're not going to stand up for the same shit that came before. And how can you blame them for being mad? If they're seeing that what their parents did, what the generation before them did not work, why would they keep trying the same thing? I don't want to go too long in one episode because I do, like I said, I think this is more for me than for anybody else. I don't see this doing good for anybody else out there, honestly. I don't, because at the end of the day, we seem to be more interested in listening to people in positions of power, people that we already enjoy. And who am I, right? Who am I but just a voice? Nothing but a regular black guy in a room talking into a mic, a cheap mic. But I'm going to continue on venting because, as I said, as I started this video, as I started this recording, I need this. Because if I don't express what I am feeling, then I will be out there with them. And I'm going to be out there regardless. I can't imagine 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now having kids, if I am so fortunate and blessed, who then turn and ask me, where were you at in 2020 when people stood up and fought against racism? My answer can't be, well, I sat in my room and I recorded some stuff and I vented some words out and then I went back about my day. That does not jive with who I am as a man, or as who I think I am as a man. So I will be out there regardless, but what I'm saying is that if I don't do what I'm doing right now, I will be out there in a bad, negative way because I am angry just the same as everybody else. And we have so many more peaceful, progressive, smart protesters who were just like John Boyega, who was out there in London and spoke to a crowd. And it was impassioned, and you could tell there was anger and there was hurt in his voice as well. But he wasn't proclaiming, let's go down and burn down the city, burn down the buildings, because he realizes, without even knowing the man, he realizes that that's not the way forward. And I want to realize that too, but I know that if I don't do this first, I will not see that clearly. So I want to end it with this. I don't think, and it's hard to say, so I'm wondering if this is even true, but I don't think all cops are bad. I may have to revert. I may have to say I'm hoping that not all cops are bad. But as a black man, as a black person in American society, because I can't speak for what's going on in other countries, I am terrified of the police. And it's not terrified in the sense of the same fear you get as a kid when you watch a scary movie. It's not the boogeyman. It's not Freddy Krueger fear. It's the fear of knowing that I can't do anything. I am utterly hopeless. There's no fight back against the man in uniform because he's been given the final and ultimatum right to do whatever he pleases with me. And what's scary about that is that even if I'm in the right, but this man has some preconceived notion about who I am because my skin is black, I could end up not leaving that situation like so many other people. George Floyd is the latest in victims to racist in uniforms. He is the culmination of so many wrongdoings, of so many murders seen and unseen. And I can only hope that this reaction that the world seems to be having, that we are feeling right now as a collective, isn't a temporary emotion. It's not a trending topic. This is something that people imbibe, they embrace. This is something that changes young men and women's lives. This is something that when a young person is now asked, what is it that you want to do in your future? It's not, I want to be a famous actor. It's not, I want to throw out a number of jobs that, sure, if that's your passion, go for it. But there's so many more. You can really make a difference in your lifetime. And you can only imagine that somewhere out there is a kid who has seen this and their entire course has been changed. They're going to make because it is a hard choice to go into law, to go into politics, to go into policy, so that so that in their lifetime they won't see the same things that we are witnessing. So I'm sorry, in their children's lifetime, in the future, we won't be seeing the same thing that we are seeing right now. Because as I said, I am afraid. And not afraid of another man. I'm afraid of the man that is in the uniform that is given ultimate power to dictate what happens next for me. I am afraid that given the wrong time, with the wrong person, in the right uniform, he could take my life and not be punished for it. He can continue living his life as he sees fit. And there's no repercussions. There's a settlement given out to my parent. There's well wishes to my siblings. There may even be a momentary hashtag. And that is terrifying to realize that your life can be summed up in those things. Money, hashtag, condolences. Because George Floyd deserves more than that. He deserves life. And I'm sure his family doesn't want settlement. You may not even I can only imagine at this point, you may not even want this outcry. You just want your husband, your son, your cousin back. And if you can't get that, you damn sure want justice. And that is why right now, and I can only imagine so many other black people are terrified of cops. Not to be twisted up with, we are scared of a man or a woman. We are scared of the wrong man or woman in the right uniform. And that's my thoughts for the day. I want to thank you all for listening. And that's all I've got.